Hey, middle-aged gamers, welcome back to another very early or very late podcast, depending where you go. We have lots of stories today, despite what some people may think. I think gaming never stops, uh, as much as we'd like it to, as much as we'd like to decrease the backlog. I had a look at my Steam wish list this morning. It's 119 games that I intend to buy at some point that maybe I'll never play. Well, we have lots to talk about, and today we're starting off with Antoine first.
All right, but some weeks you have lots to talk about, and some weeks, you have to really dig deep to find some stories, and that's kind of week, for me. And I'm gonna start with, last week I finished with a terrible game, which was King Kong. So this week, let's start with let's give it a chance, a game which is One Punch Man World, because I really really love One Punch Man. The manga and the anime are great, right? But how can you make a video game with your hero being nigh invincible and literally killing anyone with one punch? The answer is easy. You just don't put it in the video game that you are making. So One Punch Man World is a game about One Punch Man, but without Saitama. Almost, because basically what happened is that you start the game with a tutorial, which is the very beginning of the show or of the game, which is Saitama dreaming, that is fighting some subterranean threats, and he's actually having a hard fight. So that's the reason why when you start the tutorial, you see that needs a lot of punches to get rid of one mob, not even the boss, but just mob, and he's having a tough fight. Then you snap out of the dream, find the boss, kill him in one shot, and yeah, you go into the game. And the game is a gacha game in the same vein as a Genshin Impact, as a Honkai Rail, or as a Tower of Fantasy, etc., etc. It's a free game that you will have on Windows, App Store, mobile, Google Play. And you will play, I think the three first characters are Lightning Max, which is a martial artist. You have the guy playing with a big toy. In French, it's Bilboquet, but I can't even remember the name in English anyway. And another one. So basically, you start the game with a random A class hero, which is a bit underwhelming after an intro with Saitama. And well, that's how you start the game. And at first I was like, hey, what is gonna be right now? I'm talking about this because it's in close beta, planned to be released in 2024, not planned to be in my backlog. Definitely, because Genshin Impact is a good game. Honestly, as far as gacha game goes, I kind of like it, but that's the only game I kind of tolerate, even if it's a big word, simply because after a few hours of gaming, I just completely lose interest. The same on Tower of Fantasy. I thought, it's not bad, it's not bad. After a few hours, I was like, okay. I just lost interest because I thought it was very, maybe generic. It lacked the little thing which makes you feel good playing the game. And I'm afraid this One Punch Man is gonna be exactly the same, except that it's based on a very loved anime and manga, so maybe it's gonna work on the name alone. Although I doubt it, but maybe it's gonna be good for the Asian market and especially Japan because Saitama is like a god over there. So maybe this game is especially for the Japanese market. We'll see how it works, but that's my take on this one. What do you guys think?
Adam?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious how gameplay works. I know that there was a One Punch Man game. I don't think it's this one, but there was one where
No, there
you
was
don't
another
even
one.
play as Saitama, where you play as other characters, and it's like a fighting game. And the whole thing is the game is on a timer, and if you can beat the enemy within the timer, then Saitama shows up at the end of the fight, and then one punches the enemy, and it's over. Um, but if you don't defeat the enemy within the time limit, then he realizes something like, "Oh no, I left the laundry running," and then just kind of like ignores the battle and runs off, and you end up getting beaten up. I don't think this is that game, but
No, it's another one.
yeah. So this is just kind of like a brawler. So I'm guessing it's similar to how Zenless Zone Zero is going to work. Um,
So a little bit of gameplay, but it didn't look very
yeah.
appealing, to be honest.
Yeah, it
It's
doesn't
an
look
open
super
world. It's
inspired. I mean, it looks
multiplayer.
kind of generic. But yeah,
Yeah,
like you
quite
said, it'll probably be
dull.
popular.
Yeah, just because of but even some big game like take the One Piece game on PlayStation, One Piece Odyssey. That's a big. Oh, nice. That was a big name, right? Especially in Japan, and I don't think it did that much sales because the game was a turn based but not very dynamic, and maybe that's what didn't captivate people. So the name is not everything, although of course it's a big thing.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see
And
on
I'm
this one.
very critic on this. I'm very critic on this generic game which lacks savor because no, there's no not a good taste on it. Like again, last week I talked about Sea of Stars, and I told you it was a fantastic game. And you know what? I keep playing it, and I can't spoil it, but the game went into a different phase, to say it cryptically, and everything adapted to it, including the music. All the music that you had just adapted to this kind of new phase, and I could see myself playing with this massive smile. Like, I'm in love with this game. It's just perfect. And then I see this kind of game which are clearly made just to make money. There's no love from the video game makers and editors. And this is, let's get a franchise and let's make money out of it. What makes money? Gacha. Okay, let's go gacha. What's an easy gameplay to do? There's lots of Honkai Rail, Star Rail, whatever, and Genshin Impact. Let's copy something like this. It's easy to make. Let's try it. How can you really have any kind of... It's really like the story of I have nothing to do this weekend. Let's try this. Let's try something else next weekend. I just... Yeah, maybe because I'm old and like Korean said, we don't have that much time to waste on crappy game. This kind of game are literally unsufferable for me right now. I just can't. If I start to play and feel that I'm gonna waste my time, forget it. I'm not even gonna leave it a second chance.
Okay, and let's move on to Adam's first story.
All right, so I'm going to be talking about Media Molecule, which is one of the developers for PlayStation. Unfortunately, it's been announced that even they put up note on their Twitter that they are doing some reshuffling, and unfortunately, that does mean that some of the jobs are going to be leaving, so they are going to be losing some positions. This is kind of happening all over the industry right now, so it is unfortunate. Media Molecule was, of course, the company that originally did Little Big Planet and Tearaway. Recently, they've been working a lot on Dreams, but they recently said that they were no longer going to be supporting it in the sense that they are not going to be developing anything new for it. They will continue, I guess, maybe running some patches and whatnot. However, they are moving on to a new project. So it is unfortunate that, some people will be losing their jobs. And also at PlayStation recently, Connie Booth, it was kind of, we found out that she had recently left PlayStation as well. The circumstances aren't really clear, whether she just retired or whether she was laid off. I would assume that she retired. She's been at PlayStation for 34 years. She's been at PlayStation since basically the beginning, since 1995. She's been at Sony since 1989. So she's been at there for a really long time, 34 years. But yeah, they didn't really announce it. It just kind of like later on people found out, oh, wait, yeah, she's not there anymore. So that was a little bit odd in how people found out. But yeah, it looks like, unfortunately, more layoffs in the industry. So bad news abounds.
Yeah, you gotta work for Microsoft if you want to stay in the video game industry these days.
Yeah.
You guys must have seen that headline, right? Where Microsoft came and said, now that we've acquired Blizzard Activision, we're really going to double down on game publishing and game development. I was like, oh, cool.
I think they said
That's
something
interesting.
similar about Game Pass, like PC Game Pass. They would keep churning more new games, more and more.
Let's hope so.
Yes. Please be careful hitting your microphone because
It
it's
keeps falling.
impossible to move. on when I'm editing the audio, it's like, I just don't
I'm
have
so
time to go through
falling
the
down.
It's all good. But yeah, no, I saw the headline about the PlayStation or Sony firing people or PlayStation firing people. I was like, oh, I didn't realize. Was it just a particular studio or was it like across the board in terms of like game development?
As
Assets
far
or
as I
people
know,
they
it's
have?
Media Molecule was the one. I mean, they've had other ones in the past, but Media Molecule is the one that's going on right now.
So
Was it
I
an
mean,
indie studio?
Hmm?
Oh, sorry. Was it an indie studio or was it owned by a big player?
Owned by PlayStation. Media Molecule?
Yeah.
They're owned by PlayStation.
Okay.
it's interesting. It makes me think that like maybe Little Big Planet came out and was this big massive thing globally, and then number 2 came out, and then it came out on PC, and PC didn't really make a dent. So it made me think like, okay, Sony was like, yep, this isn't going to be a thing anymore, and so maybe that's why they decided to let people go.
Yeah, maybe 3 didn't release as well as the first ones, which is unfortunate because it's a great game, and I love the fact that you can kind of create your own levels, and the community was really into it. Was it Dreams? Obviously, the community has been really into that. There was a recent game released called Trend, which was made entirely in Dreams, and you're this little train that kind of drives around and runs these tracks, and it's kind of an obstacle course. Excuse me, kind of an obstacle course kind of game. So the community has really been supporting these things, but I guess outside that, PlayStation's not getting too many people outside of those communities, so they're extremely niche. So unfortunately, I guess financially, it's just not viable or not really worth it in a sense. So
It's a bit foggy, but wasn't Little Big Planet one of the starter game of the new PlayStation 3 or 4 at the time?
I don't remember if it came out. It was the first one was on PlayStation 3. I don't remember if it was a launch title. Sackboy's Big Adventure was a launch title on the PlayStation 5,
Yeah.
but I don't think that
I'm
was made by Media Molecule. I think it was a different studio just using the IP.
Maybe I should check because I'm pretty sure in my mind it was a launcher game, and that's why it was testing the capacity of the new console with this very cute, fun little game, and maybe that's why there was such a big community, being built around this. And maybe if it was just a game in the midlife of the console, it wouldn't have worked that well. But that's my
Yeah,
impression. But I may be completely wrong. Please tell me if I am.
I'm trying to remember because I don't think the original one launched with the PS3, and then the second one was also on the PS3. The third one might have been towards the beginning of the PS4, but I can't quite remember. And I'm pretty sure that Little Big Planet Vita launched with the Vita. I think, if I remember correctly. So, but yeah, yeah. You might be thinking Sackboy's Big Adventure, which was kind of one that was touted early on in PlayStation 5.
Okay, moving on to my first story of today is back to the good oldies, I guess. This is a story I saw from PC Gamer, which is the Elder Scrolls Skyrim has seen a resurgence, and this guy particularly attributes it to the Steam Deck. And there was another guy, if you know the YouTuber ESO, right? His name was like Elder Scrolls Online, like that's what his YouTuber tag is, and he did a poll yesterday on YouTube, and it was like, how many people of you are still playing Starfield? And it was basically like 13% of people were still playing Starfield. And let me make this fit. Starfield is a wonderful game, and Antoine doesn't agree with that. I loved it. It was just, as usual with me, right? At this point in time, I'm like, if I had 2 hours a day to game, I'm like, okay, Starfield is no problem. But because I'm still doing my 1 hour a day, I don't want to spend 1 hour like sitting in my spaceship looking like, where do I go? Yeah. Anyway, back to the point of the story. So this is really interesting, and we've seen Skyrim numbers go up in Steam Tracker, SteamDB is it? I don't remember what the hell that website is. But anyway, there's a website. You can see the number of concurrent players playing a Steam game. You've seen basically every single Bethesda game in terms of player numbers has gone up, which is it's great, right? I mean, and honestly, Skyrim Anniversary Edition is on sale at the moment. If you do want to buy it on the Xbox store or the Game Pass store or Microsoft store, whatever you want to call it, it's $10. So if you've never played Skyrim, it is 75% off, and that is the Anniversary Edition with all the DLC, like Community Pack 1 and Community Pack 2. It still looks good. I mean, it's still something that will run on your old computer if you do have one. And I think that also ties into Little Big Planet as well, which I was thinking about was that like you look at a game like Roblox, you look at a game like Minecraft. Minecraft passed 30 million downloads, I think, a few days ago, or that was last week's news. And that shows it's just that like when you have this very accessible platform, and Adam will sort of agree this, like when I moved to Asia, one of the first things to know is like people buy computers, but they don't like crazily upgrade them like I do. So all these like really accessible games like Roblox, like Minecraft, like Skyrim are just like evergreen games, right? So I guess that's basically my story. Was basically if you want to play Skyrim, it's available, it's cheap, it's still a great game. It's still on my backlog of games to play again because I never did any of the DLC, Hearth and Home. I never did the Vampire DLC as well. And I want to go back and play because I think the first time I did it, I just was like all over the place. I want to do a particular build, and it's one of those games. I know like Adam plays his stuff more than once, right? And I've never done it until I started talking to Adam and I started to play games more than once. XCOM was the first game I played 2 or 3 times. And Skyrim would be a game I'd actually want to play because it's sort of like rewatching Star Trek DS9 all 7 seasons 5 or 6 or 7 times in my life. It's just comfort. So yeah, if you are going to play Skyrim again, let us know down in the comments, right? And going back to Little Big Planet, right? I also wanted to mention, right? Adam's talked about this multiple times over 150, 140 episodes, a lot of freaking episodes. So you'll go back into the podcast. If you search on Spotify, you'll find all our old episodes. And you can find the episodes that do have Little Big Planet in it and Sackboy, because I know we've mentioned this multiple times. So go check it out. But yeah, Skyrim, play it if you haven't played it. Play it again if you do want to play it again. And let us know what you think.
And of course, the only thing you can't do on Star Trek that you can do on Skyrim is that if you think 2011 is too old for you, you go on Nexus mode, download Vortex, and get the enhanced physics, and it will look like a modern day game, and it's gonna be beautiful. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to apologize for Noble Cooper here. He's been commenting, but unfortunately he got modded in Twitch because he said Sackboy is sad, and apparently the term sack is considered sexual content. So he got modded on that content. I'm sorry for that. I don't know what. I mean, I understand what Twitch is thinking, but yeah, come on.
I think also you have to go into settings and set it like a +18 stream and stuff for all of that stuff to sort of get accepted.
Oh, come on. The word sack is not always used in a sexual content. That has other uses.
For sure. No, I agree with you, but I mean, it is this is Twitch doesn't want to get in trouble, basically.
Yeah. No, I mean, Sackboy's always been teased for his for the innuendo of his name.
I mean, you have to be careful with Twitch. My favorite streamer got banned like 15 days for actually absolutely nothing. It's just one word that I'm, of course, not gonna say right now. But anyway, Twitch is just way too strict on some things. Anyway,
I'm very much on the be more strict than less strict because it's going to come back and bite you, right? Because the more when regulars come and say, "Hey, my child watched this on Twitch," and they're like, "Oh, Twitch, blah 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 blah," then your Twitch share price goes down, and then the investor's like, "Oh my God, hey CEO, why didn't you stop this? This should have been more strict." and then it's just a vicious cycle that at the end of the day you screw over a couple of people, it's fine. Anton, your son looks so happy running back and forth.
Yeah, because they should have been asleep half an hour ago. And because I'm on the podcast, I can't yell, "Go to sleep, you have school tomorrow."
All right, and on that note, let's continue with Antoine's second story.
Okay, so let's be a bit more happy because I keep talking about bad games. Sorry about this. But no, right now I'm going to talk about Spider-Man 2, which is going well above and beyond his little brother Spider-Man 1, who had the record after 3 days of selling 3.3 million copies back in the day. And let me check the right number. Yeah, on the first day, they sold 2.5 million copies of Spider-Man 2, making it the best seller for PlayStation ever. So congrats. I don't have a PS5, so I won't be playing this game, but I'm a big fan of the games, like the movies, Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Multiverse. I can't remember the name of the second one. But both movies are great. And I'm not sure if these games follow the same track as the movies, or if it's different, or if it's based on the comics or anything, but it's still Miles Morales and Peter Parker, and it looks like it's amazing. So congrats to PlayStation for this game and for their sales. And I really, just because of games like this, I'm thinking, damn, I'd like to have a PS5.
I think this is an original story. Not quite sure.
So, did you play the first, maybe, or?
I did not. I'm not. Korean and I kind of touched on this on Twitter. I'm not a big fan of these kind of superhero games. Not that I don't like superhero games. Like I really enjoyed Infamous, but I don't know. Like ever since I was a little kid, like even with Legos, when Legos created like their own world, like Aquanauts or Mtron or Blacktron, I really liked those sets because it's like, oh, here's this kind of world that doesn't have its own lore, or here's something that you can kind of create your own adventures in. And so I felt like I had a lot of freedom to do what I wanted to do or explore, things that I wanted to explore. But then when they started coming out with things like Harry Potter Lego sets or even Star Wars to an extent, I was kind of not so into it because I'm like, oh, okay, like if I get a Harry Potter set, I already know what these characters are, so I already know who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. I already know what the story's going to be. So in my own little mind, I was like, oh, it feels more limiting to me as opposed to the original Legos, which were, I guess, more creative in a sense because there wasn't that baggage that came with it. And a lot of times with like these superhero games, I'm kind of in the same boat where I'm kind of like, oh, like Spider-Man comes with their preset stories and baggage, and there might be some plot twists and surprises in there, but I mean, you know who the villains are, you know who the good guys are, you know who the bad guys are. So for me, I don't usually get into them, which doesn't make a lot of sense when I think about it, because I mean, I still enjoy the movies, and of course, when going into the movie, I know who the good guys and bad guys are going to be. But yeah, I don't know. So I did not play the original one. I have seen quite a bit of discourse online about this. A lot of people have been going through Twitter looking for bugs and just compiling every bug that they can possibly find and then tweeting about it relentlessly. If you do see things on Twitter, be careful because some of them apparently are not bugs. Apparently, one of the things that people were doing was they were going into photo mode, and in photo mode, you can pose the characters. They were like posing characters within random NPCs and then saying like, "Oh, look at this bug! My character is merged with an NPC." But it wasn't a bug. It was taken in photo mode to look like it was a bug. So yeah, it's been a bit of a journey online with the console wars. First there were people who just kept ragging on Starfield, and now those people that were defending Starfield are going back and doing the same thing to Spider-Man, and saying like, oh, this is the buggiest game that's ever come out, and that sort of thing.
Going that far.
Yeah.
Going that far to lie to people is just
yeah, well, that's the nature of Twitter and console wars. But yeah, I've never. I don't know. Yeah,
but
never appealed to me.
Wars, they don't even know Sega versus Nintendo.
Yeah,
that was console wars.
But yeah, no, it looks great. It looks like it's a lot of fun. I see a lot of people online that are having a lot of fun with it. But yeah, I don't know. It's just not my jam.
I played the first one last week for the first time. After Starfield, I'm like, okay, I went to the usual routine of like, okay, what am I gonna play? And checked out Epic Games and checked out Steam and checked out Nintendo Switch was last, and I was like, oh, okay, Spider-Man was on sale on the Epic Game Store, 40% off. I think I bought it for like $30. Installed it, played it. Wow, runs amazingly, but and I enjoyed it as well because I was a huge fan of the '90s cartoon Spider-Man. You know, that was amazing. The story and Black Cat and all the lore and stuff. And I played this, and the story was great, and it was really really fun. And it's still installed on my computer, but it was just like it reminds me of the Batman games in a sense. Like when you're playing with a controller, it's like the thing I always find hard with the controller is like coordinating. Like I see Adam when he's on his stream and he's like holding stuff like this. I'm like, how the hell do you remember what all these buttons do? It's just I can't do it. Yeah, no, and it just I was playing Spider-Man. I was like, this is like shooting the guy with a web so that he doesn't shoot you back. And then you need to hold this key to grab this object and swing it around. And then this key does this, and you push the button down and push this arrow stick down. And I'm like, oh god, my hand's gonna explode.
It's no
But no,
different than a
like it was
keyboard,
an
except your
amazing game.
fingers are on the buttons at all times, as opposed to a keyboard where you have to move your fingers.
I don't understand that. Like to me, in my mind, I rather remember QWERTYU. Like those all do different things. That's easy to remember, but yeah, because you don't have to remember the 3D aspect of a controller just really wigs me out, which is why I never enjoyed Halo, or I never enjoyed any sort of shooting game on the Switch because it's just can't aim. Even in Spider-Man, like I was swinging through the streets of New York, like in that first hour of the game, and I like fell like 5 or 6 times because I'm like swing. I don't understand why you're not swinging. It's just, oh,
For context, Adam and I started playing on the Genesis or Mega Drive for me. For Korean, Switch is literally his first console, so give him a break. That's okay. So not know intuitively all the buttons on the pad.
That makes
yeah,
sense.
no, I struggle with that on the Switch too as well. Like sometimes when the Switch uses the trigger buttons, I'm like, oh god. Um, but no, it's still a great game. It's probably gonna get uninstalled because I was telling Adam saw me and post about it on Twitter. That I've decided to go back to the Switch for the next few months. So I was playing Cult of the Lamb over the last few days and really, really enjoying it. That is an impressive game in terms of mechanics. And it looks cool as well, but it's just like awesome mechanics. And I did enjoy the rogue. My first finished roguelike was Hades, which was awesome as well. And we'll talk about another Switch game later, actually. But yeah, that is my take on Spider-Man. It's a great game, especially for the story. Like I did not hate the story. I just hated the controller aspect of it. Yeah. All right, Adam, story number 2.
All right, so I'm going to be talking about. Ooh, what's going on here? That's your Skyrim video. Okay, the Annapurna collection, what's it called? The Annapurna Interactive Collection has been announced. So this is going to be for Switch. I don't know if it's going to be coming out on other consoles or anything like that, but it's 12 games that's going to be on a single cartridge. So you'll be getting Donut County, Gorogoa, Hindsight, I Am Dead, If Found, Kentucky Route Zero TV Edition, Neon White, Sayonara Wild Hearts, Solar Ash, The Artful Escape, The Pathless, and What Remains of Edith Finch, all on one disc. Pre-orders are going to be starting on October 26th. So that is that's tomorrow here, but I guess it's going to be the day after tomorrow if you're stateside. And yeah, you can order them, and they said that the copies should ship in Q4 2023, so they should be shipping quite soon. So if you're a fan of Annapurna and you either, haven't played any of those games, which I guess why would you be a fan if you haven't played any of their games? Or if you've played a few of them but not all of them, then yeah, that sounds like a pretty good deal. It looks like they are going to be somewhat limited, or at least they're going to be a deluxe limited edition. So of the limited deluxe edition, there's only going to be 2,500 units total. But yeah, if you are a fan of Annapurna Interactive, I think this is a great deal because I've played Donut County and I loved it. I have I Am Dead. I haven't played it yet, but it's in the backlog. And some of the other ones looked pretty good too. I've heard a lot of really good things about Neon White. So, yeah.
And if you don't remember what Annapurna is, and stop me if I'm wrong, but I believe Annapurna is an editor for indie studios. So if you're tired of AAAs and you want to try a lot of small and good indie studios, Annapurna is usually a safe bet. With the other, which is I forgot the name. There's two
Devolver
studios.
Digital?
Oh yes, thank you, Devolver. So yeah, these two there, if you want indie games, they are usually safe bets and are doing great work. So thank you. In indie studios, you really blow a breath of fresh air onto the gaming world, and we love you, or at least I do.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised they can fit 12 games on one disc. It kind of makes me wonder, like, what are you doing with the other, or what were you originally doing? Were you using like a twelfth of a disc? These must be really small games. I don't know what the overhead on something like that would be if you're, putting one game on a disc but you're only using 1/12 of the disc. I don't know. Is that a efficient use of funds? I don't know.
I'm not sure, but these games are usually with 4 or 5 hours. If it's indie games, like a short iQuest,
They're pretty
4
short.
hours.
I
So
beat Donut County in
yeah.
a single stream. It was about 3 hours, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, see, so yeah, that's fine. They just don't print the games individually, I guess. Just you buy them on Steam.
Yeah.
This is cool. I mean, not to mention, you said, Adam, this was coming out on the Switch, right?
This is on. Yeah, I've only seen information on the Switch. I don't know if it's coming out anywhere else. As far
So
as I
it
know,
makes
it's
sense,
only
right? A
Switch.
Switch is just like a typical SD card, right? Or like a micro SD, whatever you want to call it, right? And those go all the way up to 4 terabytes in terms of storage, right? So you can fit lots on a Switch. And Adam's totally right. People always sort of feel weird, like, why is this so small, right? And I think some Switch games do get big, like the Borderlands collection. I remember on the Switch ended up being like 15 gigabytes or something. But yeah, this is awesome. And again, this feeds into the collector aspect of that many Switch people, or not many Switch people, like lots of gamers still have, that I still have, that I'll sort of be talking about in my third story as well. But yeah, no, this looks exciting, and there's a huge secondhand market here. I mean, everywhere in the world for Switch games, right? Because I can buy a Switch game from Antoine and plug it into my Switch, and there's no region locking or anything like that, right? And the cool thing as well is, like, I can buy a Chinese Switch game here in Taiwan and plug it into my Switch, and I'll get the English, because that's just the way it works for some reason, which I still don't understand why PlayStation doesn't allow that and gives Adam continuous headaches about language selections on his games, which seems a bit backwards in my opinion.
It's not the PlayStation necessarily. It's the publishers.
The publishers, right? Yes. So I shouldn't say PlayStation. I apologize for that. But yeah, no, it's
Because like Witcher,
like,
you
I mean,
can
this
you
is
can get
something.
any language you want. If it's a CD Projekt Red game, you can get any language you want. You might have to, like, for example, I was playing Witcher 3, and I was thinking like, oh, hey, you know what? Witcher is supposed to be from Poland. Maybe I should play in Polish. So I went, and it was like, okay, yeah, you can switch to Polish if you want, but what you have to do is you have to download the Polish patch, and then you have to restart the game. So you had to do it that way. But so the game would come pre-installed with maybe a few languages, but they have a list of options that you can download if you want. But yeah, so CD Projekt Red does it, but for whatever reason, Bandai Namco decided, like, you know what? Let's not do that anymore. Let's just be completely random in our language selection. We're just going to throw
I don't get
darts
that
at a
at
map
all.
on the world, and whatever country it lands on, we're giving it that localization.
Incredible. All right, and with that, I'm going to move on to my second story, which is board games, which I have not talked about in a while. And right above this shelf, on the top shelf of there, is filled with board games for under 10-year-olds. And then on the bottom shelf of this shelf is filled with board games for adults, which, at one point I had the wonderful dream of, yes, I will play board games with adults on a monthly basis or a bi-monthly basis or a bi-yearly basis, but no, that's never going to happen. I've accepted that, which is why I gave Phil a whole bunch of my board games at one point. But yeah, so it is the holiday season for the Western world. Kind of like Halloween's coming up this week. There's Thanksgiving coming up in November, Black Friday, Christmas, winter break for kids, I guess, in the Western world. In Taiwan, it's just before Chinese New Year. So you're probably thinking, okay, in some parts of the world, people are searching for, I mean, this is why I'm doing today's story, is like board games to play indoors, right? Because this year, due to El Nino, it's expected to be a colder, wetter winter where you're going to be spending lots of time indoors, especially if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. So you, like with most parents, right? You don't want your kids sitting in front of a screen or playing your iPad or playing your Switch for like 7-8 hours a day. You want them to do other stuff. And so I have a selection of games, and I feel like I've talked about some of these before. So I'm going to go through these very quickly. So there's a list if you're watching the video, but I will include the link in the podcast show notes. Basically, board games for kids, right? The first game that I love, it is probably my favorite board game ever, is Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride is a very basic, like worker placement game, kind of sort of like Settlers of Catan. Adam is an expert at that. I played Catan and I did not like it for some reason. Yeah, I remember Adam has it in his house. But yeah, Ticket to Ride, worker placement game, really fun, really simple to understand, but very strategic. It's also available on Steam. A lot of the games I'm talking about today are also on an iPad. So if you do have a big iPad Pro, this is also a great solution. So you don't have to have multiple boxes, which is a gigantic pain. So just because these are board games, physical, actual board games, you can actually just buy the apps and play on an iPad, on a table in your living room somewhere. Next is Sushi Go. Sushi Go also really popular with kids because they love the colors, they love the cute sushi. And again, for me, in my memory, I'm relating to the apps for these games. I play the physical games, but the apps are much better in terms of animations and stuff. But yeah, again, another very simple card game where you're racking up points, and the person with the most points at the end of a round is the winner, and the person with the most points after multiple games is the winner for Sushi Go. Again, really cute art. Sushi Go is a really good choice. Takanoko, never played it, but I'll let you guys read the links for these. Mousetrap, oh god, Mousetrap is like the proverbial early 90s or late 80s game. I think it's like a late 80s game. I think I see Adam and Antoine nodding with me. Again, really fun game. It's self-explanatory, Mouseplat. You look at the picture, you'll understand. Just one. Dixit is another one I could talk about. This is one of the first board games I ever bought in Taiwan, where it's about storytelling, it's about talking. It's a really fun family game for all ages because adults and children communicate at different levels and different ways, and kids will say surprising things to sort of help you guess cards. Absolutely beautiful art. You could like buy this, and when your kids get older, you could just totally take the cards and put them in a picture frame and put them on your wall because they're just that beautiful. Zingo, Outfoxed, Operation, oh god, Operation, another classic game, again from like however many, right? You're supposed to pull stuff out of people. God, I used to have an Operation game in Taiwan, but I think it was destroyed during one of my classes. But yeah, really fun. The next one is Suspend, which is what I do have, and I do use this still in my one class a week. Melissa and Doug are these sort of couple in Indiana. Oh, yeah, I think it's Indiana. Anyway, they make sort of like these games, dexterity games, where you have to put stuff on top, and if everything falls down, you lose. Really good choices. I'm not going to go through all of these because that will take up too much time. But basically, this is a really great list. Most of these games, you'll find them on sale for like 50% off, like 75% off on Black Friday. So just in time for Christmas vacation, for Christmas, so you can buy like a good 5-6 of these. When I was teaching North, I would get 5, 6, 7 board games like every single year on Black Friday, and which is why I ended up with tons of board games that I cannot get rid of anymore. But yeah, if you're looking for something to sort of get ready for the Christmas holidays, to keep your kids occupied, great value for money in terms of how long you can use them for, I would definitely take some of, I think all of the games on this list is something you can look at.
Yeah.
All right. And then, yeah, unless you guys have any questions or thoughts.
No, the only question I have is for some of these games, if you're playing them on a tablet, do you need to have one tablet, or can some of them be played across multiple tablets?
So for these kind of games, they usually just played on one tablet. So it's just basically like if you can imagine 4 people or 6 people and just sort of turning the tablet around. Some of these can be played with multiple tablets. So like a Ticket to Ride, you can have a tablet, I can have a tablet, Antoine can have a tablet, and we could be sitting around Antoine's table and drinking some beer and playing Ticket to Ride, right? That works like that. Like that sort of multiplayer online functionality tends to be with more like adult sort of age games, like D&D stuff, that works. But for like Monopoly, for like Operation, which is also an iOS app, that's very much like, hey, we all sit around the tablet together and we play together. So it's usually, that's why I think it's great. You don't need to have, everyone needs to have an iPad Pro, right? You just have one big 13-inch iPad Pro, or like you can go with like Samsung has these 16, 17-inch tablets right now, supersized XL tablets. You can even play these games on Android with an even bigger tablet because Apple doesn't make super huge tablets. And that's also a great experience in itself.
I wonder if you play, these kind of party games like Mario Party or things like this.
Yeah, no, that works as well, right? Like again, yeah, you could do Mario Party as well for keeping your kids occupied. This is definitely more like board game-ish stuff. All right, and then we're on to Antoine's third story.
All right, so I had a choice because there's a couple of games which came out this week. There was a cute and successful Pikachu Detective Returns, which apparently is very nice, also quite simplistic, but that's good for kids. But that's kind of a good game, and I'm in a grumpy mood because, end of quarter, lots of work and everything. So instead, I'm going to choose Metal Gear Solid, how they call it, the Master Collection Volume 1, right? Which includes MGS1 with, of course, Solid Snake and his evil brother. So you have Metal Gear Solid 2, which is Sons of Liberty, and 3, Snake Eater, literally one of the best, if not the best, Metal Gear Solid. And they are all Master Collection, and apparently, from what you can see in the reviews, especially on Steam, it's bad. It's really bad. It's not working at all. Mainly, most people ask, how can you screw up a port of a PS1 game? The options are terrible. You can go on GOG and get it for $10, and it would work much better. Anything basically would work better. Just your usual emulator would port the game better than this collection. So I don't know what happened, literally, because, well, it's an old game. It shouldn't be hard to port. Apart maybe from Mantis on a computer, it's gonna be hard for him to read your input or read your I don't know if he reads your browser history or something. That'd be weird. But apart from that, I guess it should be a fairly simple game to port. And yet now it's mixed to quite negative reviews. If you play this game, tell us, is it just people renting, on Steam? Because this is one of the old classic game, especially for people our age. MGS was a monster in our childhood. Very short game though, but that was kind of classic at this time. And so is it a deserved rent from all these people? That's quite a lot of reviews though, so I imagine it's not undeserved. Or just tell us what's so bad about MGS, because I was tempted, like three game collection, volume 1, that means volume 2 is gonna come out. and GS5 with which is unfinished. So I don't think so collection number 2 would be useful, to be honest. But yeah, just go in the comments, tell us. Did you play this collection? What's wrong with it? I'm really interested.
Yeah, I'd be curious
Adam?
too. Yeah, like how do you screw that up? So, yeah, is it like a stuttering
Yeah, I suppose.
issue or is it just like the resolution's bad? I'm really curious what is actually going wrong because from what Antoine and I were talking about earlier, it seemed like it wasn't very specific. It was just people saying, "How can you screw this up?" but then not explicitly saying what was screwed up about it. So,
Yeah, there was a lack of option in the resolution or the ratios or things like this. So basically, it didn't look good. It's a PS1 game and it's not a remaster, so I expect it's not gonna look good. So how can you make it look worse? That's a cool question, right?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, but at the same time too, I mean, if it's an original PlayStation game, PlayStation didn't have resolution options, so if it's directly ported, I mean, I could understand why it wouldn't have those. Um, so yeah, I guess they just didn't add them. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but apparently you have emulators which do a better job. So at least benchmark on them. And sorry, I hit my microphone again, Korean.
Yeah, I'd be really curious to see
But
what was the issue. Yeah.
honestly, yes.
I heard this is on the Switch already, maybe, or like this collection also released on the Switch, and I'm like, oh, this is also on
Today.
my Switch to buy list. Because I've heard, like I was telling you guys before this, I watched all the trailers. Like when a Metal Gear Solid came out, I went to GameTrailers.com. Like, oh my god, this trailer looks so cool. I want to play this game, not understanding what the actual gameplay is, to be honest. And I saw the Metal Gear Solid. I think the picture was on Google News. They had like a thing in Shibuya where they had a guy in a box. he was under a box, and they had a guard, and the guy in the box in the demonstration in Shibuya was like trying to like not get detected by the guard, and they had multiple boxes. It's a really cool demonstration. Like Japanese rarely know how to do like a game release demonstration stuff, but after Antoine said it, I know this might need to come off my Nintendo Switch wish list. At least until I can sort of read longer reviews or see what it's about and see if I'll actually ever get to play it, because there's a bunch of like older games from the PS1, PS2 that are on the Switch that I've looked at. I'm like, I'm not sure I want to play this. Like, I love the mechanics, but at the same time, there's like a certain look with older games. I'm like, you're looking not that pretty, so I'm sorry, I don't want to play you. Like, I'm a graphics snob for some reason. Not for some reason, because I'm a desktop gamer. That's why. So, yeah. So I'll see. Okay, Adam, your final story.
All right, my final story is going to be about what's this called? I need to remember the name of the game. Star Citizen's Squadron 42, which is their single player kind of offshoot, is now feature complete. So it's only taken them 6 years to reach this point, and now that it is feature complete, we are still nowhere close to the game being done, because now it's going to be in the polish phase. So basically, feature complete means absolutely nothing from a functional standpoint if you are a person waiting to play, because basically it just means that we have everything that we need in the game is done. Now we just need to make everything that we need functional and pretty. And so, yeah, 10 years in the making. I will say, looking at this, it's kind of funny because I remember when this game was first announced, this was like revolutionary and it was supposed to, look amazing. And this was just like way out of the scope of anything, it was just way too ambitious. And now looking at some of the like character dialogues, when the characters are talking and stuff like that, and looking at some of the character models, I'm kind of looking at it and I'm like, you know what? This is starting to look dated, actually, where we have games that look better in terms of character models in this game. It's just been taking so long that it's actually gone from ahead of the curve to slightly behind the curve. It still looks good, but yeah, those 10 years are starting to wear on it. But yeah, if you're the kind of person who is looking forward to Star Citizen or Squadron 42, which again is the single player part of it, then you might have another 10 years to wait because, yeah, we've entered the original phase of creating content, and now we're in the second phase of fixing content.
You know
And I
what?
know
I
Antoine
want
has
to
a
be
lot
the
to say.
optimist. No, it's just I want to be the optimist for once because, as you said, this project was extremely ambitious, and it still is. It's everything Starfield is not. You take off from your planet straight into space. Yeah, just for you who are completely hyped with the games. Remember, it's a simulation, and what it means, it's not it's not Starfield where you can. Quick or teleport to another location or something. It's a simulation. You forgot your helmet in your bedroom when you take your spaceship to go to another planet. You're screwed. You have to go back, take your helmet, put it on, and go back. Even if it takes 20 minutes, because it's a simulation. If it takes 20 minutes to go between two planets, it will take 20 minutes to go between two planets. You don't have fast travel. Or at least you shouldn't have fast travel. Because it's a simulation, and it's what makes this game great, because some people really like it, and it's a slower pace, and even in fast travel, some pirates can find a way to pull you out of fast travel to ambush you. So it's a different kind of game. Just make sure you have this expectation in mind, right? However, it's Star Citizen. It has fantastic ship, overpriced ship, of course, but it has some very cool ship, like design are fantastic, and Squadron 42 is what Chris Roberts, who all of a sudden after 2 or 3 years in development of Star Citizen, decided we need to get the solo mode out first, which means that all the updates of Star Citizen went out or finished. All the updates on Star Citizen were minimal, and all the resources were pulled on Squadron 42, which is why Robot Industry have been working very hard on Squadron 42, and they basically need to take it out soon, 2024, 5, 6, I don't know, but they're in the polishing phase. As I said in the videos, they explained that they did the core game, and now they split their team into small individual self-reliance team to tackle each aspect they want to polish to make it go faster. So I want to be optimistic and say 2024 that your Squadron 42 game. Doesn't mean that you will have Star Citizen though. You will have Squadron 42, the solo game, hopefully. Let me put the hopefully, because in everything you have to believe Chris Roberts. In the past 10 years, his credibility so. But even though if you have Squadron 42 coming out, Star Citizen doesn't mean the multiplayer is not out yet. Of course, they will take all the assets of Squadron 42 and put it in Star Citizen, so maybe it's not going to be out much later behind. Just makes a difference, Solo campaign, multiplayer, different. Squadron 42 and the Star Citizen are not the same games. They are very closely related, of course, but not the same. And remember, simulation. Don't be disappointing into putting lots of money, in the ships right now, like some players did 10 years ago, on the projects which, roadmap move every 2 years. Of course, it's going to be a great game. Hopefully not too dated, because yes, you're right. I saw the trailer of Squadron 42, and it's weird because I saw some of my favorite French streamers are playing Star Citizen, and it looks great. Some of the ships are amazing, really. And when I watched the trailer of Squadron 42, I was like, hey, why the trailer doesn't look as good as the actual game? That doesn't make any sense. So that's why, when I saw the trailer, like, it's some things they made like a few years ago and just releasing with the interview, and they didn't make a newer trailer or something. I don't know, it doesn't make sense. But we'll see. I want to be more optimistic than Adam and say it's gonna come out next year, December 2024. It's just polish, right? Bit of wax. No. Let's hope. Let's hope for all these people who put lots of money and have been waiting for this game. The longest Kickstarter of all, the most expensive Kickstarter of all. Let's hope that they get their reward.
Yeah, if it does release, I think I'm really excited. It does have very strong Mass Effect vibes, so I'm really hoping that it comes out. But yeah, we'll see.
Okay, and on that positive, surprisingly positive note, move on to my last story, which is another Mario Brothers game, which is out. And even though I told everyone, I'm not playing a Mario Brothers game again, I'm gonna buy this one because it looks like fantastically colorful and wonderful. And you've probably seen pictures of Mario as an elephant. But this game is out in Taiwan. The price I've seen is anywhere from $40 and like between $40 to $50, which is still like a really, really good price. It's not that sort of like full maximum price, but this is basically, I think we've talked about this before on an earlier episode. It's between 1 to 4 players. You get to play with other people, and I had never considered this before. Primarily because I'm like, okay, this is a game where you need to play with other people, but actually you can play this single player, and it's still very much worth it. And as usual, right, with any sort of first-party game, this is 1080p, 60 frames per second on the 7-year-old Switch, right? Like a game in 2023 still runs fantastically, but I mean that's the way Nintendo usually rolls. When they are releasing a game, their first-party titles, they do make maximum effort in terms of optimization and the way this runs. So from doctor mode to handheld mode, it looks beautiful, it runs beautifully. People also saying that this is going to be the future art direction of Mario games, and that this game matches the movie in terms of colors and the way it looks. I thought that was really cool because in my old age, and also because I have a thing with my left eye where I don't, not enough light gets in, so colors are darker to me, which is why I have like horrible perception when it comes to colors. So I love really, really brightly colored games. And just like, to me, that's exciting. And I also found out there is a Nintendo Switch store really, really close to my house, which is funny enough. I don't see like a dedicated PlayStation stores, but there are a few dedicated Nintendo Switch stores all over Kaohsiung, where Adam and Fu live, which is awesome. But yeah, this is a game I am definitely going to buy, and I'll probably play it after I finish Cult of the Lamb. There are pre-order bonuses still available, like here in Taiwan, you get like a big like a Mario tote bag, and yes, at 40 years old, I still want a Mario tote bag, and there's the stickers and keychains and all this sort of stuff. And I mean, like look at this stuff over there. Look at the Kamen Riders, man. I don't know anything about Kamen Riders except that they're from Japan, but I still got that stuff because it's cool. But yeah, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Affordable, really, really fun, good reviews across the board. If you like me and you're like, oh my god, this looks incredibly difficult, let it be incredibly difficult but wonderfully colorful at the same time. So give it a go. Yeah, and I will buy it, and I'll let you guys know probably by the end of the year what it's like. No matter what, I'm going to be expanding my Switch collection. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it looks like a return to kind of the Super Mario World Super Nintendo kind of gameplay.
Oh,
So.
you would know more than me. I just looked it up like, oh, wow, colorful. Oh, wow, psychedelic colors. Ooh, wow, Toki mushrooms. Okay, bye.
Yeah, no, it looks
That
interesting.
must be hilarious on multiplayer, because this Mario, usually you have a nice little road ahead of you, and you have to jump on this specific brick to be able to make the jump. Can you imagine if your friend just destroys this brick just as you're supposed to jump? this kind of mess, or there's some trap brick. Oh no, I activated the trap brick. Well, good luck jumping now. Must be fun. Honestly, must be fun.
I will say I like the 2D version of Mario better than the 3D, because the 3D I bought like a Mario game or traded one in with another guy. We met at 7-Eleven, and I tried. I'm like, oh my god, the 3D is it looks cool, but I much prefer the 2D version of Mario games. So I'm looking forward to this. All right, guys. So Adam still streaming Neo 2, right?
Yep. Yeah, I'm nowhere near
Are you-
done. This game's longer than I thought it was.
Okay, and Antoine, what are you playing these days?
Sea of Stars. Sabotage
Sea of
Studio.
Stars, of course. You already said it. I'm stupid. Yes, I take
No,
that
no,
back.
it's all right. I just, I need to promote this game because it's just so good. I can say it, full show 1 hour Sea of Stars. No worries.
Have you captured any gameplay you want to like upload onto YouTube?
No,
commentary?
I didn't. No, because anything I capture would be spoilers. Really.
Oh,
so.
okay. We can spoil things for people. Some people don't care about spoilers.
Nah, even in the characters, because in RPGs your party is you start with characters, and of course you'll have more character, maybe less character. Even my party right now, just capturing the screen of my party would be a spoiler, so
Okay.
I'd rather not.
Got it. Understand.
Yeah, sorry.
No worries. All right, and then with those final words, Neo, Sea of Stars, Cult of the Lamb, we will talk to you guys online on Twitter, right? Let us know. You can email us at middleagegaming2020@gmail.com. We love the YouTube comments, the Instagram comments. We are now back to doing just one, I guess, back like the old days, one short a day, sort of connecting with the long form content. So keep an eye out for those and let us know what you think about those, because we know, again, on Instagram and Facebook, you guys like the shorts. So those will be back there. They are back there. I've already scheduled today's shorts out. Thank you, as always, to Adam for the production and the YouTube thumbnails. Hope you guys are enjoying those. Those thumbnails are pretty damn awesome, I have to say. I still have not gone down to individually scheduling the thumbnails to connect to the videos on Instagram, which is my next goal in terms of Village Gaming content release and distribution. But that will be something I'll get onto it. And last sort of housekeeping I will mention is that I know you guys have noticed that like the news sort of is like planned ahead. So like stuff coming out today is actually from last week's episode. And I told the guys as well, is from the end of November. We'll be more timely about it. So like stuff that was on the live stream today will be out on the live stream today and coming after that. It's just with work and stuff, it'll sort of all match out once I have that like week of holiday in November. But yeah. Thanks as always, guys, for waking up early and going to bed late. And then we will see everyone next week, same time, same place, for games, news, and amazing stories.
And Halloween.
And Halloween, yeah.
And Halloween.